Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down Miami. We got Gabby Urrutia from State of the U online with us to help talk up the Canes. Would like to remind you and encourage you to support the channel if you enjoy the conversation, the discussion, the debate, the analysis that we bring on a daily basis. Please like, comment, share the video, subscribe. Of course, you can also grab the Amazon link in any of the description section of any of the videos to support the channel. You don't have to buy the product, just use the link. Also, join us on Patreon, where we will have exclusive content there. Is there another position out there, Gabby, in addition to the quarterback position, that's grabbed your attention?
I would say probably the defensive line. And I say the defensive line just because there's opportunities right now for people to establish themselves before a bigger group of individuals come in, because right now the first team defensive line, which is not really a first team, 3 practices in March, it's kind of just based off of off-season workouts, who's working the hardest, or however they feel these individuals are progressing through. So it looks Jonathan Garvin, who I just previously mentioned, John Ford, who is at one of the defensive tackle spots, who's a junior out of Broward County, a local guy, Pat Bethel, who's an incumbent starter at defensive tackle. And on the other side, it is Scott Patchen, who is a senior. And so really, we have Miami obviously had a great offseason with the transfers. We have Virginia Tech transfer Trevon Hill that's coming in to compete for that spot that would likely that currently belongs to Scott Patchen. We have the transfer from UCLA that has a pretty tough name to pronounce. I don't want to butcher it right now, but he has a pretty tough name. He's coming in with some experience, which definitely helps the Miami defensive line. We got Jason Blissett, which is a guy that the Hurricanes are really high on. Identified him early in the recruiting process, and he just continued to rise and rise and rise. And by the time everyone knew who he was firmly committed to Miami. So that's a big one. We got another guy from New York, Jared Harrison Hunt, who's another big body guy, an athletic guy with a basketball background that's coming in to compete as well. So there's a lot of bodies there right now. And a guy like John Ford, who, he's a huge, big boy at like 6'4", 290, like just a really big guy. And he's made some really explosive plays in the backfield in the offensive line versus defensive line drill, which we saw like maybe 7 to 10 minutes of on Friday. He made 2 really, really great plays in the backfield where he just exploded through the center of the Miami offensive line and just made a couple plays. He didn't hit very hard. They're not trying to hurt anybody, but had he had any intention to make a play, he could have made some serious plays back there. In the second team, we have Nesta Silvera, who's kind of the guy that Miami fans are kind of hoping really takes that next step and becomes the other starting defensive tackle. He was a really highly touted guy out of Plantation American Heritage. He came out in the same class. Well, he was in the same class, same team as Tyson Campbell, the 5-star freshman that played a lot at Georgia last year, and Patrick Surtain, who starred at Alabama, of course. And so he was a guy that came in that Miami Hurricane fans are really excited about. So he made a couple plays that got garnered some love from Manny Diaz. Manny Diaz came, kind of gave him a little tap on the helmet, told him good job. It was a really, really explosive play, and we need to see more of that before these guys come in, because that's when the real competition is going to start. When all these bodies start getting in there, and when the defensive line isn't too deep and it becomes 3, almost 4 deep, then it becomes a lot harder, just repetition-wise, to really make a statement. So now's the time for guys like John Ford and Nesta Silvera to come in and make some plays.
The Canes are in camp as of March 19th under Manny Diaz. We got Gabby Urrutia on the line from State of the U to talk Miami football. Again, we encourage you to help us build the channel here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe, of course. And, of course, do your Amazon shopping by using one of our links below in the description section. All right, Gabby, of course, the next wave comes in potentially for 2020. There was much controversy surrounding the last recruiting cycle, that coming off the 7-6 campaign and all the controversy in regards to the perception that Mark Richt mishandled the quarterback situation, which I certainly buy into that perception as well. Then the recruiting cycle started to go down, and that's after Richt had 2 good recruiting classes, and it all started to kind of unravel, and then he retires or announces his resignation there at Miami. Manny Diaz comes over from Temple, reverses field, and kind of saves the class to a certain extent, maybe not to the level that they needed going forward, but salvages through the transfer portal. And now they're looking to get back to that Miami level of recruiting and have an opportunity based on our conversation before we started to record in regards to the recruits coming in, visiting, that they could possibly make some hay here pretty soon.
Yeah, definitely. The 19 class didn't go as anybody expected. Obviously, the way at Miami, you got to win. Every team from everywhere in the country is coming down here to find talent. We see Alabama come and do it every year. Started with Amari Cooper. They came and took Calvin Ridley. They took Xavier Williams. I believe he's a freshman there now. Top talent from South Florida is constantly going to these other programs. So these kids have options. If Miami's not winning, it takes nothing for them to say, I'm going to go to Georgia. I'm going to go over there. So yeah, but Manny Diaz needs to win at the end. If he's going to make this 2020 class great, he's got to win. But he's doing a good job so far, and he salvaged it through the transfer portal, which obviously made national headlines with Jalen Phillips, Tate Martell headlining, and Trevon Hill as well. But the Hurricanes did host their junior day, which I kind of consider it a senior day because although these kids are juniors in school, they're seniors in football because this is already heading into spring football of their senior year. So I would say the headlines of Miami's junior day was 5-star linebacker out of Virginia. His name's Antoine Sampa, number 30 player in the country of the 247 composite rankings. He's the number 2 inside linebacker in the country. Just those are the type of guys that Miami offers, and you see Miami throw out these offers to these huge guys. Like there's Justin Flo in California. Miami reached out and offered to him. But in order for there to be any chance of them coming, the first step is to take a visit. If they take a visit, these kids are at least interested because for these unofficial visits, these kids got to pay their own way or their families got to pay their own way to get down to Coral Gables, and showing that interest on their end, from Tampa's end, for example, for him to come from Virginia down to Coral Gables to take that visit is huge. There was Kendrick Bingley Jones, a defensive tackle from Charlotte, who also paid his way down. He's the number 140 player in the composite 247. So some good players from outside of Miami's, I guess, fertile recruiting grounds, which is generally South Florida. Manny Diaz definitely wants to make South Florida a priority. And then just a bunch of the commits. The commits came back. They hung around. Brian Robinson was at practice one of the days when I was there. I believe it was Thursday. Brian Robinson was there. He's a wide receiver out of Palm Beach Central. We're fighting off Florida to hold on to his commitment. It's probably going to be a battle to the end to keep his commitment. Samuel Anale from Carroll City, another just a big defensive end. He was committed to Miami. He was in attendance, and a bunch of other guys. A bunch of guys from either committed to Miami from the South Florida region, and they're coming to Miami. Miami's showing them a great time. It's a beautiful facility. It's a beautiful area, and this new coaching staff has the energy in that building through the roof. And they say the new Miami, they mean it. These coaches mean business. They're not gonna tippy-toe their way around this recruiting stuff. They're going fully after it. I think they intend to win. They have to win if they intend to actually reel in any of these guys. And Manny Diaz is doing a really good job of showing kids that this is definitely a new Miami. This isn't the same Miami that Mark Richt left them. This isn't a Miami that kids are going to question whether they want to be a part of it. This is a Miami that kids are going to either want to be a part of it or they're going to regret not being a part of it in the minds of the coaches. So a lot of exciting things. And junior day, Miami ended up with 2 commitments. An offensive tackle, Antonio Smith, out of Vanguard in Ocala, the same high school that N'Kosi Perry came from. He's a big kid, 6'2.5", not currently ranked on 24/7 Sports. I don't know. There's still a lot of evaluation going on there. I'm not really sure. I don't have too much information about him. Honestly, I hadn't heard much about him. But Miami accepted his commitment, so it has to mean that they like him. And Keyshawn Washington, defensive back, safety type of player from South Dade. Jaden Francois, he's a Miami-Dade County's interception leader from last year. And great talent, a really good talented kid. These two roam the backfield in South Dade together, so it's good to regain his commitment because he decommitted after the staff change of Mark Richt to Manny Diaz. He kind of took a step back, reevaluated everything, and now we have him back in the fold. So great job by Manny Diaz to get Keyshawn Washington back in. He's a top player in the country, one of the top players in South Florida. So some exciting news and some momentum in the recruiting class once again for 2020.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down the Canes. We got Gabby Uridia on the line from State of the U. catch him and the rest of the crew there. Of course, Cam Underwood, one of my regular guests, and Gabby jumping online, filling in and doing a remarkable job. Love the recruiting breakdown there, Gabby. And let's talk next about kind of that next transition 3 or 4 years later for the best of the best as they set themselves up for the NFL draft. Of course, we saw the combine from Indianapolis several weeks ago. You had your pro day this past weekend, and your thoughts in regards to what came out of that.
Well, the pro day was it was today. It's probably going on right now still as we speak. But you know, a lot of guys like Travis Homer, our running back, had almost 2,000 yards in total throughout his career. Jaquan Johnson, just an outstanding Miami Hurricane. It'll go down as a legendary Cane, at least in this generation of Canes. He was a guy that was kind of like a foundation of the program, a leader in every sense of the word. Just a captain of the defense. It's a guy you hate to lose. Sheldrick Redwine, Miami's losing a lot. Gerald Willis, who had a lot of issues in his past, and he kind of revitalized his career when he came to Coral Gables from the University of Florida. Took him a couple years, but he's moving on now. So all those guys came out and performed today. They just went through basic, kind of like the same stuff that they kind of do in the combine. Travis Homer and Sheldrick Redwine withdrew from they didn't do the 40-yard dash again. They're pretty content with their 40-yard time. I believe Travis Homer ran a 4.48 40 in Indianapolis, so he didn't run again. Sheldrick Redwine ran a 4.44 40, so that was fantastic for a guy like him. He didn't run again. I think it was mostly just for guys like Jaquan Johnson. I feel like Jaquan Johnson really wanted an opportunity to improve on his 40 time because at the end of his junior year, he was kind of looked at as a guy that could potentially go late first round, maybe early second round. He had a really, really great year for a fantastic Miami Hurricanes defense. And he had another fantastic year again today. Oh, this year, I'm sorry. This past year, he had another fantastic year. This past year. And his 40 time wasn't what he wanted it to be in Indianapolis. So he came back, ran it again in Coral Gables, and he was still high 4.7s. So I'm not sure how much it's going to impact his draft status. I was looking at a couple mock drafts before coming on with you, and I didn't see him anywhere in the first 3 rounds. So Jaquan Johnson probably didn't help himself too much with the high 4.7s. Joe Jackson ran, and he was in the 4.9s, I believe. Our defensive end, Joe Jackson, who's probably going to be the first Hurricane drafted. Just a physical specimen, just 6'4", 6'5", just absolutely shredded guy. You see this guy in person, and it's just he looks like an NFL player today, as what he would be going into his senior year of college, and he just looks like those type of guys like Alabama turns out. They bring out these guys. It's where are these guys coming from? These 19, 20, 21-year-old kids are just massive human beings, and he very much fits that mold of just a giant man. And so I'm sure he helped himself. I feel like the scouts see him up close and personal like that. And he's definitely probably going to be in that mid-third round. Someone falls in love with him. He could get taken early third, maybe late second. Gerald Willis ran today. He was in the 5.2s. And so, it's not blazing fast, but, at least he's not like a turtle out there. He's shown his explosiveness. He's shown who he can be on the football field. And, it's just stuff like that. The one guy who I really want to talk to you about today is Trayon Gray. He goes by Chalk in the Hurricane family and just between the team. He didn't play very much at Miami. He was kind of like a fullback in Mark Richt's offense, but he came out today he's a big guy. I would say 6'1", 6'2", 235 pounds of pure muscle. This is another big guy. He comes out, he was a 4.37 today. And that just absolutely blew everybody's mind, something that no one really expected just because we didn't really see him play that much. You would think a guy of his height, his strength, his speed, he would have definitely been a bigger part of Miami's offense, which just kind of raises more question marks of just Rick's tenure here. If you have an athlete with those physical capabilities in your offense, why haven't we seen more of him? He was lined up as a fullback for 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. You really just want to get that extra yard, and that was kind of his role in the offense. So interesting to see how he ran so fast, and it's great for him. Hopefully, probably won't get drafted just because there's really no film on him. Hopefully he gets a undrafted free agent opportunity somewhere, makes the most of it, lands on a practice squad, and you never know what happens. These Miami guys find a way to stick around in the NFL, so we'll see. It was a great day for him, probably the best he could have asked for, personally, from his standpoint.
I have definitely enjoyed taking in the insight and information from Gabby Urrutia. You can join him on State of the U with Cam Underwood and the rest of the crew there for the best in Miami athletics coverage on SB Nation. Gabby, we appreciate you stopping by. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. No, it's a pleasure. I hope I come on again and talk one day. Thank you, Mark.